Hello, today I'm going to be looking at the super cheap CPU cooler I found online. This for me was about $6, although you can find it from about $6 to $8 depending on how many you get. I got a few, so I got the discount. So I just wanted to test how good this thing really is, because $6 is not much. If you go out to eat, that's really not even going to get you much at all. This is it. It came from eBay, where I got this one. I don't know how to read the whatever language is on here, but I'm assuming that says a 3-year warranty. It's good for AMD and Intel. Opening up the packaging here, which it's really quite basic packaging, I say as I struggle to open it. This is what you get inside. You get some thermal paste, and you get a couple clips here for using Intel. And then this adapter, which will let you use an AMD heatsink on an Intel platform. This is for 775, 1151, 1155, I think. This is the heatsink itself. It's pretty small. It weighs pretty much nothing, and it's not built well at all. So let me take a look at that. A quick correction though, it's 1155 and 1156 according to the box, although I think it should work on most Intel CPUs. And for AMD, it says AM2, AM3, but FM1, FM2, not AM1, but AM2, AM3, and probably AM4 you're safe with. I know FM1, 2, AM2, and 3 you're good. I don't know about AM4. So anyway, looking at this, removing the sticker, you can maybe see that's not actually a screw there, it's just plastic. I don't know why they did that, but there's only one screw holding it, the fan on each side. So it wobbles and it can touch. I haven't had that happen yet though, but it can. You've also only got a 3-pin connector for the fan. I'd say the build quality on this isn't very good, but what do you expect for $6 to $8? If I bring in a stock AMD heatsink, compare them side by side, you can see it's close to the same thickness. Overall, this one's a little bit more low profile, and it's certainly a little bit wider. I don't know how well that comes across. Anyway, yeah, a stock heatsink, I'm going to compare it to this. This is an older style 95 watt, if I'm not mistaken. And then I also have this DEEPCOOL heatsink, which is old, but you can get this for about $27 right now. And this is the, actually I don't know what it's called, but it's, I think it's 400, GAMMAXX 400 or something. So anyway, let me look at the test system real quick and show you what that's going to be. Alright, so the computer itself is right here. It is sitting upside down, but it's using an Asus M4A79X TD Evo motherboard, 8 gigs of DDR3 RAM, GTX 275, EVGA 500 watt power supply, and then for the CPUs, I have 3 different ones right here, and that's going to be AMD Phenom 2 945 quad core, 125 watt TDP, AMD Athlon 2 445, 3 core, and this is at a 95 watt TDP, and an Athlon 2 250 dual core with a 65 watt TDP. So here's the testing system. It's running out Windows 7 here. I am going to load up AMD Overdrive, and I am also going to get hardware monitor going here. And you can see right here, it's going to be our temperature. Keep an eye on that. And what I'm going to do is hit it with a stability test and start it. And we'll see here the load is at 100% on the CPU. It says we're at 113 watts and the temperature is just going to go up. Alright, so the test results are here, and you can see the data up here, the raw numbers, and the chart here. And for the quad core at 125 watts, yeah, you should not really be using the cheap cooler. It's just not built for that. At 91 degrees under load, that's a little bit too hot. The stock cooler was pushing it in my books at 75, almost 75 degrees centigrade, and the DEEPCOOL did reasonably well at 66.5. I say reasonably well because the intake fan on the DEEPCOOL was fighting with the exhaust fans on the case because I installed it backwards so I could keep the RAM cooler. Because at that point I already did the test with the RAM cooler and I want to keep it as, I guess, even or fair as possible. I don't want to add a variable or remove one. The 95 watt is probably the most I would use the cheap one for. 95 watt TDP at 67.5 degrees Celsius, of course, with a roughly 30 degrees Celsius ambient temperature. That's approximately 85 degrees Fahrenheit. For those of you using Fahrenheit. And you can see the stock cooler does quite a bit better than the cheap cooler. Really, I would only recommend getting the cheap cooler if you are on like the world's tightest budget, or you're just like me and you really only use it for some limited testing. And I would not put it on anything with a high TDP. If you're looking to get a cooler for your CPU from the stock cooler, this is definitely a downgrade. Although this DEEPCOOL was, I would say, a pretty good upgrade for $27. The only reason I have this specific cooler is just because it was laying around. It's an arbitrary cooler. It's just better than the stock cooler. It's just for reference. So, I mean, you can see it drops 10 degrees at the from the 95 watt to the 65 watt on the cheap cooler. Pretty decent drop there. And then the stock cooler only dropped about 3 degrees, and then the DEEPCOOL dropped half a degree. And what that tells me is that the stock cooler is probably pretty good for around that 95 watt mark at its high end. DEEPCOOL can do quite a bit better because it did not drop a whole lot by dropping that TDP, but then again, under load, it's only 6 degree higher temperature in the CPU than it is ambient, so I'd say that's pretty impressive. And of course, the cheap cooler, probably a 65 watt TDP cooler would be my guess, just looking at these numbers. I'm not an expert in that though, take that with a grain of salt. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this short little video, this slight review test, whatever you want to call it, on these coolers. Hopefully it brings you some value like it did me, because I didn't know how bad these coolers were.